When I try to explain to people what I do, the first question is, oh, you're an architect. So it's interesting. And I know each state is different on whether that term is protected or not,
Yeah.
how we can explain what we do without causing any issues there. I just think the more we can talk about this, the more it can make sense to the general public, to builders and people in the industry. One of the things we tell our team is ready, fire, aim, progress before perfection. Just keep the ball rolling, get something out there, get some feedback. Don't get stuck in your own way or just spin your wheels on an idea too long. I mean, you might spend 2 or 3 weeks creating what you think is a perfect floor plan, and then you send it out and they hate it. Like, okay, well, if I would have spent less time and found out they didn't like it sooner, I could have been revising it and getting them new versions sooner. Right. One of the biggest things is do what you say you're going to do. If you're going to deliver something in a week, do it. And if you're going to miss it, let them know. Don't let that lapse, because then they're going to be frustrated.
You know, it's an age-old adage of under-promise and over-deliver. Just do that.
Welcome to Not a Licensed Architect, the podcast for residential designers out there doing the real work without the license, and sometimes without the credit. I'm your host, Stephanie Thatcher, and if you've ever felt like you should be licensed to be taken seriously, but you're still showing up every day, designing real homes that real people actually live in, this is the show for you. Here, we get honest about the struggles, but even more importantly, we're talking about solutions, better floor plans, smarter business moves, and the confidence to finally own your role in the residential construction industry. So if you're ready to level up, lead your clients like the pro that you are, and finally own the fact that you don't need a license to design incredible homes, this is the podcast you've been looking for. Let's go.
Welcome to Not a Licensed Architect. I am your host, Stephanie Thatcher, and today I have with me Brian Free, right? I said it right, right? Yeah. I am super impressed with the things that I've seen online. I think we started our businesses about the same time, but you have gone gangbusters. So tell me about how you got to where you decided to start a business and then how it grew and what your guys' like objective is and all those things.
Yeah. How far back do you want me to go?
Hey, as far back as is relevant. I don't care. Or is interesting. Either one.
Okay. I mean, all the way back to high school, I took every drafting class possible, and I worked for an engineer. So I always
Wait, you worked for an engineer while you were still in high school?
Yes.
Nice. Because it was a job or because it was something that interested you?
Both.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What did you do for this engineer?
All of the grunt work, running the survey rod.
Okay.
They still had vellum and true blueprints back then, so I smelled a lot of ammonia making blueprints.
You were feeling good at work.
And then just a lot of miscellaneous drafting and CAD work.
And they were using AutoCAD?
Yes.
Okay. Is that the software you still use today?
No, we use Chief Architect.
Okay, cool. That makes sense. All your people use Chief Architect?
Yes, for all of our preliminary design and drafting and construction documents. And then for our final renderings, we use Lumion.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. All right. So you were working for the engineer. Sorry, I totally side-railed that.
That's all right. Yep. So worked for them. Ended up going to college for construction management.
Nice.
And while working for contractors, I started doing house plans on the side, and they're very basic. That was still AutoCAD, simple 2D,
right?
5 sheets, very minimal details at that time. But then what started VirtuActive, there's 3 other partners, and one had a background in real estate, one had a background as a home builder. I had the background in drafting and design, and the fourth had a background in business development and sales.
Oh, that's perfect.
And so the realtor and the builder were doing a very small version of what ultimately became VirtuActive just for their small group of personal clients. And they realized we could bring this to market and work for lots of builders and lots of homeowners. And so that's what sparked the idea 11, 12 years ago.
That's so cool. That's actually a really great combination of founders and co-founders, I think, because you're coming at it from all different angles. So like the realtor and the builder, they could kind of help direct the plans to be builder friendly and client friendly, right?
Right.
Because they had that angle. And then the guy with the business. So which one were you? You were the
the drafting design background.
okay.
So we officially opened our doors just over 10 years ago. It was January of 2016. And the builder and the realtor partner, they were behind the scenes. So it's just myself and the business development partner running the business. And I was doing all the drafting on the front end. And then that first year, we added 3 or 4 employees.
Wow. So, okay, big question. I mean, you had been doing this already. So you already knew. Did you have your own independent company
Yes.
before Virtuactive? And so you kind of already knew what it took to get business.
I did on a very small scale. It wasn't my
You were doing it on the side.
Correct.
And were you actively like searching and getting those clients, or it was just like as they came to you?
A little bit of both, some referrals or through people that I knew. And then I would actively try to get a couple clients here and there.
Did you think one day in the back of your head, like, I'm going to turn this into my full-time thing?
Not back then. No, I didn't think it was possible back then. Because that was
Really?
probably 14, 15 years ago when I was doing that.
And what made you think that it wasn't going to be a viable thing? Because, hello.
Well, and that was in a smaller town. So we're based in Omaha, Nebraska, which is the whole metro is about 1 million people. At that time, 15 years ago, I was in a town of like 30,000 people. So that was part of it. There's just limited builders and homes to be built. And I guess my eyes hadn't been opened yet to the possibilities.
Gotcha. Do you guys, now you focus on mostly like builders, right? As your clientele.
Correct. That's where we're building most of our relationships is with the builders. So that way, we repeat business with them. But we also have some, we call them general public clients or individuals who haven't selected a builder yet, who want to come to us to complete the design, and then they'll shop builders from there.
Okay. And I mean, obviously you have good relationships with the builders. So do you refer these general public clients to certain builders, try to match them up with the builder that you think might be a good fit for them?
Yeah, we do at times if they ask us to. That's kind of tricky because, if we work with, let's say, 20 builders, I might recommend 3 or 4 from a personal standpoint. And so, and also that might depend on price point, where they're building, size of home, that sort of thing. So yeah, we'll try to guide them to, hey, here's 3 or 4 builders to reach out to that we think would be a good fit, and just kind of let them go from there.
Yeah. Does it ever like get into like sibling rivalry or anything between the builders? Like, like they are saying, why didn't you refer them to me or anything like that?
I don't think we've had that come up because, again, we try to be pretty careful with it. And those clients are a vast minority. Most of our work is through the builder. And so we don't, that doesn't come up.
Okay. So builders, rather than having in-house and worrying about training a drafting staff, which they aren't probably like as familiar with, or, they don't know how to have that arm of or that division in their company, they just outsource that to you. So is it custom homes or is it production homes that you're
majority would be custom, and some, what I would say, semi-custom. They've got some base plans or houses before that we modify. We do have a second part of the business that is focused on production or volume builders, but that's kind of in the infancy stages.
Okay. I thought I saw something like that on your website where it was just like you have somebody who, that's what I was looking through it. Let's see. I can't remember where I saw it, but
we call it volume division or design division.
Volume division. There it is. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Design is working with local clients for the most part. We've done a few things out of state and mostly custom. We do a lot of remodels and additions as well.
Oh, okay.
But the volume, it could be local if it was a production builder, but so far those clients are actually out of state.
Okay. How did you go from local, just Omaha, to grow to be now national?
We just saw it as an opportunity to grow the business and to not have a ceiling of the local clientele and local builders that we have here.
I love that. Okay. So, because you do have an architect, right? Is it a licensed architect?
So we have a gentleman who's a licensed architect. He's not on staff, but we partner with him often when we need to. So he's on our website as part of the team because we do some light commercial. So obviously we need him involved to collaborate on that design. And then in the state of Nebraska, if the house is over 10,000 square feet, they require an architect as well.
Oh, interesting.
So
okay.
He'll partner with us on that.
I don't have that ceiling here in Utah, but there probably should be some sort of cap.
Well, it's interesting because the local jurisdictions don't care about that. They're worried about the structure. So we work with structural engineers all the time
Right. Yeah.
on any size home. But on that, once it's over 10,000 square feet, all of a sudden an architect has to be involved from the state's perspective,
Okay.
not the city jurisdictions.
Okay. Okay. I see. So that's where the architect comes in. You're not a licensed architect,
I'm
right?
not.
And did you learn Chief on your own? How did that come about?
Yeah, on my own and through, online tutorials. I didn't have
Right.
anyone teach it to me.
Okay. And is it your brother that's the volume
Yes,
projects and stuff? And does he know it also?
he does. Yep, he did use it first. He was the builder that was doing his own plans in chief with the realtor, where they said this could be more than just the two of us. And so that's when I started learning chief, because when I was in the smaller town, I was still just doing basic AutoCAD plans.
Gotcha. Okay, so wait, let's back up again. Okay, now I know a little bit more about like your brother was a builder, he knew chief architect, you did. Like, what got you both interested in this industry?
That's a great question.
You
We
don't
grew
know?
up on a farm, so it's not like our dad was a home builder or anything like that. But we just were always hands-on, and we're always interested in construction and woodworking and building, and started off in not the exact same path, but it's interesting how we,
Yeah,
come full circle.
that's cool. We won't spend too much time on working with your brother, but it seems like it's working out for you, right?
For the most part, yeah. Yeah, I think we beat the odds.
That's so cool. Okay. Now this is a little bit of a different angle. And I have a couple of different ways that I can see this conversation going. One of them is I'd like to know like what it is that like what interested you in being on the podcast and what kind of message can you give to the listeners about how to, really excel in this industry, in this career, even as not being a licensed architect. And then the other angle is just about like how to, grow this business and train other people. How do you bring people in? Because that's a huge thing when you're just like me. I'm basically solo. I have a couple of part-time design assistants that I've like kind of harvested out of my online training program, but it's super, super hard when you're just kind of in it by yourself to be able to expand and grow, because if you're training somebody else, the work isn't getting done.
Mhm.
And so like how to balance all of that. So
Yeah. So I guess to the original question, why I was interested in the podcast, I just thought it was a great idea to discuss our industry, because it is very niche. When I try to explain to people what I do, the first question is, "Oh, you're an architect." Like, no,
you're
I'm
an
not an
architect.
architect. And so
Yep,
it's already
not
like
a licensed
explaining
architect.
what I do. And so it's interesting. And I know each state is different on whether that term is protected or not,
Yeah.
and how we can explain what we do without causing any issues there. But I just think the more we can talk about this, the more it can make sense to the general
Yes.
public, to builders and people in the industry.
Yes. Like I find that so general public is a good term for it, right? And so that's most of my market. Most of my clientele is general public, custom builds. And they say the same thing to me. So you're an architect? And forever it just felt so awkward to
Yeah.
try to explain, because we know that there could be legal repercussions if we actually use that A word. And unfortunately for me in the state of Utah, it's a little bit lighter now. I can have a little bit more leeway in using the term architect, but just people not really fully understanding what the different roles are. And so maybe talk about the different employees that you have and how you've distinguished their different roles, because maybe that would be helpful.
Yeah. So the three primary roles that we have would be drafter, designer, and 3D specialist.
Okay, perfect. Tell us the difference.
So drafter is usually someone, entry level, starting out. They're doing a lot of work behind the scenes, doing working drawings is what we call our construction documents, mentioning notes, details. They'll be doing their own designs on smaller remodels, probably basement finishes or small remodels or additions to start with. And then eventually they would start getting into new homes and small custom homes. Designer is just the next level up, so they can work on anything. So they're designing custom homes primarily, or the larger remodels and additions. And 3D specialist is doing what we call 3D prep. So first in chief, they're staging it with furniture and materials and colors, and then the Lumion renders and videos on the back end.
Okay. I know that when soft plan drawings, which is the software I use, go to Lumion, you have to have like a lot of that stuff already kind of built out. So like the cabinets need to be exactly how you want them to be presented in Lumion. Lumion gives it that polished look. Is that the same in Chief Architect then? I think.
Yeah, I think it's very similar. I don't know the inner workings of that too much, but I do know they went through some extensive training a few years ago to get
That's
to
cool.
really hone their Lumion skills to really make it look polished and photorealistic. But yeah, a lot of the prep is in Chief, and then they export it and kind of do the final touches.
Perfect. So I love that you've got that they can kind of like grow into different roles and responsibilities as their skills and their abilities grow, right?
Mhm.
And so that drafter position is kind of that training position for you guys where it's like, we're going to get your feet wet. We're going to like introduce you to what it looks like to actually become a designer, but we're going to keep you in these simpler, they don't require as much knowledge or information about structure and the requirements that go into it. Do both roles, the drafter and the designer, get to work with the clients? Or do you have like a
Yes,
sales
they
team or
do.
something?
Yep. So they definitely, if they're working on a project, they're involved interacting with the clients as well. The designer's much more so. They're working with the client all the way through from start to finish.
Gotcha.
Drafter, if it's their own, small remodel project, yes, they're going on site. They're meeting the clients in their home, taking
Oh,
measurements,
cool.
pictures of the existing space, and then doing that design.
Okay. So let's go to that other big question. Like, how do you train all these people?
It's not easy.
Yeah, what does it look
So
like?
in the early days, it was very slow organic growth. So there was just very one-on-one and shadowing, and we probably weren't very efficient at it.
It's
We could have
rough.
trained people faster if we had a more legitimate program. But so the first several years, that's how it was. But then in 2020, we saw just crazy growth as a lot of our industry did.
Yeah.
And we literally hired people in groups of like 3 or 4 and were trained. And then, not all of them would last, sort of a thing. So at our peak, we were at like 30 people. Now we've kind of scaled back down as the market has
Right.
not softened, but kind of come back normal. 2020 and 21.
Well, yeah, it softened as
Yeah. And all the team we have now has been here for almost 3 years. So I haven't had to train anyone green for 3 years.
Do you get to a point where it can be like, instead of you training them or Sam training them or whatever, like that you have your other like lead designer who can train the new people now?
So when we were hiring those waves, we did break it out to different modules or different sections, and we would pull our designers and say, okay, we need you to teach foundation, or we need you to teach structure, or you need to teach 3D or whatever. So we did break it down that way, so it wasn't solely on one person.
Because you guys, I would imagine that you have a very systemized approach to how you put together a project, how you design a house, how you go through the remodel, like what are the different steps? Do you have that documented? How is that just like stuck in everybody's heads? Or do you have it like an actual process, a manual? What does it look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So we certainly have a very robust process that we've built out that works well with clients, and that is we found to be very efficient. Like a custom home, for example, what we call the prelim 1 post would be anything above grade, so main level, second level, post basement, post elevations, etc. So that sort of process that we've built out to set client expectations is also then the backbone of training individuals and internally as well.
Okay. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. What would you say is the system that you would feel like you're the most proud of or has created the most efficiencies in your business? And is also something that you see has like kind of a ripple effect into the clients to help them to feel really confident in your processes, your systems, and your deliverables and all, just the whole client experience. What does that look like with product development and client expectations?
Yeah. So, early on, we thought 3D was like the big differentiator, which it was, that got our foot in the door. But what we realized is the main pain points that a lot of these builders and clients were having was turn times or response from the other firms they're working with, and they weren't very efficient. So we realized if we can get clients in and move through an efficient process and promise, updated drafts within a week or so, each draft isn't perfect. There's still revisions. It's going to evolve.
Right.
Get them
Yes.
something quickly so they can give us feedback and keep the ball rolling versus just crickets for 2 or 3 weeks. So that was the biggest thing that really set us apart in the early days.
I love that. Yes. I think that that is so critical. What I do is it'll be interesting. This year I'm taking on like 4 times as much work as I used to in the past. But where I would start one new project a month, and we're talking like bigger, higher end custom builds. But I meet with my clients once a week. And so that way they know what to expect and they can look forward to, the edits getting to them by a certain day or whatever. And then I don't have to wait for them to send me any sort of response or feedback or whatever. So there's this constant fluidity going as rolling it forward. What is your timeline like when you take a client on from start to finish? Do you guys have kind of a standard time frame, or does it depend on each project? Because I know like a basement finish out, that's going to be a little bit different than a custom build. So what does it look like from project to project?
I mean, the reality is every project's different because of, client response time and size and complexity of house. But we typically say a custom home on average could be done in 8 to 10 calendar weeks.
Okay, good.
That's start to finish.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not, really large or complex. But if the client's not in a hurry or they take a lot of vacations, that could drag it out.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Do you include PD as a standard offering, or is it an add-on feature?
It's standard. So once the model is mostly done, we've got exterior elevations done, and my 3D team preps the interior. Then we do what's called the design review meeting, where we're virtually touring it in our office live up on the big screen. Still in sheath. This isn't Lumion yet, but at least they can feel immersed and visualize it. It's got furniture and it's staged, so it looks lived in. It's not just an empty shell. And then
and it's not like crazy, yucky, like nasty colors or anything that might come preloaded in chief or something. You guys have kind of customized it to fit the client's needs and wants and whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. So my 3D team, they all have interior design background. So you don't want me picking out colors. They're good at that sort of thing. And then taking as much inspiration as possible from clients. If they've got Pinterest boards or houses or things like that, they're picking different themes and ideas and colors from there.
Okay, cool. So in SoftPun, I can give my clients a 3D web link that can be used in VR goggles. Does Chief Architect have something like that? So when you say like you're walking through it, is it just walking through it on the screen, or do they have any opportunities for that full immersion in VR space?
So it is possible to use the VR goggles. Honestly, we should probably revisit it. It's been a few years because we didn't have great luck when we tried it in the past. So our typical process is just up on a big screen TV in a conference room. That way everyone in the room can see it.
Yes. That's the problem with the VR goggles. It's just one person at a time.
Yeah, exactly. And then there is also an online viewer where we can export it and they could view it at home, either online or on a phone or that sort of thing. It tends to have limitations with the larger files, the larger houses. We have to turn off all the furniture and light fixtures and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that kind of ruins the whole purpose of it.
Exactly. So we don't even offer that. If someone finds out about it on their own and requests it, we'll send them the link. But it's not that great.
But I think it's actually really cool that you guys will sit down and walk through it with them in 3D. I had one of my most productive, even though it was like a 4-hour meeting, but I had the builder there, I had the clients there, I was there, and we were looking at every tiny little thing where it was just like, hey, guess what? In case you didn't notice, this window is centered on the inside, but because of where the pillars are and the posts are on the outside, it doesn't look centered if you're looking at it straight on 2D. Like, we talked through every tiny little thing and still didn't get through everything, and but it was actually really great because there were a lot of things that came up that I was able to talk through with the builder and ask the clients about. And so I think that those kinds of meetings are super, super productive. And also especially for clients who don't speak the language, right? And so to have these kinds of meetings where it can really hopefully help educate them a little bit. You can there were times when the builder in this meeting that I had, he was saying stuff back to the clients and using lingo, right? Industry lingo that made no sense whatsoever to the clients. So then I came in and I was trying to interpret it. So what he's saying is this part will be like the ceiling. It's going to be flat instead of angled, instead of calling it raked and plumb and whatever,
Yeah.
Just being able to kind of like interpret and decipher for them so that they can understand. I feel like the more the clients understand, the more at ease they are with and comfortable they are with the whole process altogether. So,
Absolutely. And that's one of the biggest things that we feel the 3D does is it puts everyone on the even playing field because most people can look at a set of plans, they don't know what it means and
right,
can't visualize it. So the
right,
3D and in those design review meetings, we prefer the builder to be involved because we want everything to be a collaboration. So we
right.
don't want to design this
Love that.
house and the set of plans that the client loves, and then the builder's like, "Well, why'd you do it that way?" Or "That's
Yeah.
too expensive." It's like, okay, well, if we could have had these discussions sooner, then we could have avoided that.
Yeah, if we could talk with you a little bit earlier, then we can totally have at least a solution in mind or presented to the clients that might solve that expense issue or
Right.
whatever. And you have pretty good luck with your builders who will come and collaborate with you. I know that there are designers out there who they would rather not collaborate with builders because then it causes more work for them. How do you feel about that?
No, we certainly prefer the builder involved, and we have good luck with our builders. Now, some are more involved than others, and there's a couple that just trust us and they take the back seat and they'll chime in if they feel necessary. But most of them, it's a pretty good collaboration.
Do you have to customize your plans in any different way from one builder to the next, or are they pretty good about taking your plans in the format that you like to deliver them? So you kind of have like, okay, this is Virtue Active's standard plan set, design and look and the way that we put the plans together and different things like that.
Yeah, I would say 95% is our standard process, our standard set of plans, but we allow, each builder's got a little bit of preference, maybe they prefer stick framing versus roof trusses or a certain technique. So we'll make note of those sort of things so we can include that on each one of their plans. And if there's special requests, something we'll just include it. And some things we might say, okay, that's far enough outside of the norm. We can do it, but we're going to have to charge extra for that.
Gotcha.
It just depends on the situation.
So it sounds like you create your standard way of doing things, your standard operating procedure. And
Mhm.
then anything that is outside of that little package, you've just figured out kind of like a workaround for it. And you're not going to be like, no, I can't do it because that's not in our regular operational standards, but you make accommodations, which I think is huge because that's what people want. They want to be heard and listened to, right?
Right. And that standard set was developed from feedback of working with dozens of builders over the years. So it's not like we just say our way is the best. We've adjusted over the years to feedback and issues or challenges that have come up. We've learned from it and improved to where, yeah, every builder's going to want it slightly different, but we feel like it fits, like like you said, that 95%. And then the outliers we can take them
How
on.
often do you feel like you have edited your or revised your standard operating procedures or your plans based on that feedback that you've gotten from builders?
I mean, in the early years, a lot. We do it on the fly or, multiple times a year. We've gone now several years without any major changes, but we're kind of
Yay.
reevaluating that now. So we're like, okay, what can we do better? Or, is there some feedback? But yeah, major changes, we haven't done hardly anything for several
That's cool.
years.
So that means that things are kind of like shaking out to where you're in a good place. And then how do you stay viable? How do you stay competitive? What do you do to like actively pursue, that continual improvement? Because I mean, now you've got a pretty big team, you're nationwide. How do you stay viable?
That's a great question. I mean, with one of the great things about having a partner who's in business development and sales is he's constantly out there, meeting with our builders or trying to find new clients or getting a pulse on how the plans are doing. It's almost fascinating where a client may not complain to me or one of my designers, but they'll say something to him,
Oh,
over
interesting.
drinks or at a happy hour or something like that. That's how we get a lot of our feedback. And so that works really well. And then, we're always obviously trying to push the envelope on improving our design and creativity. A lot of that comes from the clients. They obviously drive a lot of it based on what they want.
Right.
But then, we're trying to stay ahead of that as well.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that was one angle of like staying up within the industry and the processes and different things like that? Do you find it hard to stay current with the design trends?
It can be. Yeah, especially if, because some clients really know what they want and we can kind of guide them on, yeah, that's a good idea or not a bad idea. But some clients come to us and say, well, you're the professional, wow me. What you tell me what I
Wow
should.
me.
And that's challenging sometimes. I need at least a little bit of some guidance on what you like.
I did have some clients once who were like, so do we need to give you ideas and tell you what we want and different things? This is pretty early on. And like, they were thinking that they needed to give me like a sketch and a layout and whatever. And back then I was just like, no, let me see. I don't want to be influenced. Like, I want the creative juices to just be able to flow. I've since changed my tune a little bit. So I call it just all I need. I don't even need you to sketch it out. I just need to know I call it kind of like the real estate of the house, the neighborhood, like which rooms need to be neighbors with each other.
Yeah.
So I just need to know that. And then I can pull out the creative juices and wow you. But one clients, they were just like, yeah, we just want to see what you can come up with. And I'm like, okay, no pressure there. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. At the very least, like you said, we need to kind of know, what rooms you want, kind of where they need to be, whether it's, associated with the rooms next door or maximizing views or the shape or topography of the lot. That usually dictates what side the garage goes on and if there's a walkout basement or if it's flat. So those are huge factors. And then any inspiration, whether it's, just some pictures of, hey, I kind of like these exteriors or I kind of like these, this kitchen flow or this pantry, that sort of thing. That helps at least get it started.
Yeah.
We don't expect clients to sketch it. That's what we're going to start doing. And
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Although bless their hearts, I have clients who come to me with like Home Styler and Home by Me and Excel.
Yep. We've had a few of those too.
Wow. That is talent. If you can sketch out a floor plan in Excel, good job. Yeah. That's pretty amazing. What are some of the best lessons that you learned and or some key takeaways that you can share with the listeners that you feel like have really shaped your business and the direction that you go and how you are like solving problems in the industry for our homeowners?
Yeah. Well, we always try to be open to feedback and not be offended if someone doesn't like what we came up with. And, especially referring to builders, sometimes, contractors out in the field can be a little rough around the edges. And I have to remind my team, like, don't be offended. That's just how they are. Like, I don't think they're mad at you or trying to be mean.
Yeah.
That's just how they talk.
Right. Yeah. They just got to get stuff done.
Yep. They're in the field, they're dealing with a dozen different issues and they're firing off a text or an email and just take it at face value.
They're not proofreading it to make sure the tone is right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anything else that you can offer? Like what would you say is like a core value in your team that you try to instill with every single designer and drafter that you hire that says, this is who we are as Virtue Active and this is how we want to represent ourselves to our clientele?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, collaboration is huge and just always trying to improve. One of the things we tell our team is ready, fire, aim, like progress before perfection. Just keep the ball rolling, get something out there, get some feedback. Don't get stuck in your own way or just spin your wheels on an idea too long.
I actually like that a lot because sometimes you can't know if things are good or bad either way until you've at least put something out there.
Yeah. I mean, you might spend 2 or 3 weeks creating what you think is a perfect floor plan, and then you send it out to and they hate it. Like, okay, well, if I would have spent less time and found out they didn't like it sooner, I could have been revising it and getting them new versions sooner.
Right. Now, on that same note, it's like, I also say too that like the faster I can get at my skill and my particular area of expertise, then the faster I can deliver something and the faster I get that feedback, I might be able to provide more and like deliver a better product than I could 5 years ago or 10 years ago because my skills have increased and improved. And so I can like provide better deliverables and get that much further ahead in the same amount of time. How do you encourage the people that work for you to kind of like have that owner's mindset where they're not just like, oh, I'm just getting paid by the hour or whatever,
Yeah. So we track all of our projects. We boil everything down to per square foot.
I
And
noticed that you've got like all these awards on your LinkedIn stuff where it's just like so and so has designed 2 million square feet or whatever. I'm like, that's so cool.
yeah. And so because we can track everything so well, then they are, gauged or incentivized to move a certain amount of square footage. And so there's a kind of a threshold like, well, here's the minimum. And then if you go above and beyond that, you can earn a bonus.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's cool.
So that's worked really well.
I mean, besides just designing X number of square feet, obviously they need to get like that's not just, what am I trying to say here? It's like approved projects, right? So it's not just concepts or whatever, because I can design a million different things and get to that $1 million or that 1 million square foot thing. But it's like projects that have been approved. Do they have to have been built?
They don't have to have been built. No, but at each, like I said earlier, we have the different stages, 1, 2, 3, 4, et cetera. At each stage, they get a chunk of the credit.
Oh, okay.
So even if a project, say, canceled early for whatever reason, they at least got partial credit.
Oh, okay.
And so the faster they can be proficient at their skills and the faster they can move through those projects, then the higher square footage they're going to move.
Gosh, who came up with that idea? That's actually pretty interesting.
That was probably Dave and Sam. And you can't manage what you can't measure, is what they would say. So it's like, how do we measure what the team is doing so we can help manage them and guide them?
That is golden. So, okay, so that's making me think too, like, since it's mostly just me, like, what is it that I'm measuring? Because a lot of times it's like, oh, the number of projects that I take per year, or, like my gross revenue or something like that. But I do think that managing efficiencies is pretty critical. How fast, like how many hours did it take me to design that many square feet or that complex of a structure or something like that? Could be a good way to do it.
We grade on quality too. So if someone's super fast but the quality is terrible, well, then they're going to get docked on their score and they're not going to earn a bonus in that case.
How do you grade on the quality?
So I review all of the projects. So from a technical standpoint, I'm reviewing the quality of the drawings at that point, and then client response time, efficiency of managing the client, and where the admin type thing comes into play as well.
How do you calculate the client response time? Do you actually know how long it takes them to, like, the designers to respond to a client?
Yeah, so we track all of emails and responses in a CRM system.
Okay, gotcha. What CRM system do you use?
It's called Insightly.
I haven't heard of that one. Insightly?
Yes.
That's cool. And so is it specifically for the construction industry, or is it just a general CRM?
It's just a general CRM. Yep. Very general. But we've customized it and built it out over the last 7 or 8 years. So we use it pretty extensively.
Does it have automations that you've built into it to improve efficiencies?
It does have some.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've built out pipelines, and like if then, we get to this stage, then these tasks pop up, and you get this credit at this stage, and these reminders pop up at this stage. So yeah, there's quite a bit of automation in it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that. You've given me a lot of good ideas of things that I can do, even in my own simple little small firm here. And I hope that there's a lot of good takeaways here for other people, regardless of the different sizes of, whatever studios and firms that we have, that people can see how they can improve and their processes or their services, or their deliverables, all that sort of thing. Do you continually change or like evolve your deliverables too, and how the presentation style looks and different things like that? Does that evolve over time?
A little bit. Again, a lot in the early days. We haven't had many drastic changes for a few years, but we're kind of evaluating, like, are there extra things we can do? Like, for example, door and window schedules. That's something we don't include, because our stance has always been, well, I don't know if they're using Anderson or Pella or whoever, and each manufacturer is going to be slightly different. But we have a small few clients who ask for it. So, okay, maybe that's an upcharge that we can offer. So that's an example of some things that we're looking to add or include in the future.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, what about if you had a door or window schedule that was just like basic size of window and like, okay, it's a casement versus a single hung or something?
So we call them out on the plan and elevation. So the sizes and the style are on the
Oh,
plans.
okay.
We just don't have a separate table for it.
Gotcha. Okay. That's cool. Well, any last words of advice for anybody that you can think of?
I think we've covered most of it.
Okay. Do you have any sort of actionable takeaways that you can offer?
Yeah. The biggest thing with client, or one of the biggest things, is do what you say you're going to do. If you're going to deliver something in a week, do it. And if you're going to miss it, let them know. Don't let that lapse, because then they're going to be frustrated.
Dropping the bomb here. I love it. Yeah, I think that's key. It's an age-old adage of under promise and over deliver. Just do that.
Exactly.
Like, it's hard for me because sometimes I feel like I'm lying when I give the promise, because I'm like, I know I'll have it done before then. But I would rather give myself like a little bit of wiggle room in case something comes up, because you guys, life happens. And so just account for it.
Yep.
I need that anyway. Maybe other people.
We all do.
Other people are more manageable, I guess. I don't know. All right. Well, Brian, I so appreciate you being here and talking with us and sharing your experiences and your insights. You've done amazing things in, I think, a very short time. And it looks like your team is like running like a well-oiled machine. And so I just really appreciate people who are taking care of the clients and the builders who are serving the clients as well, which is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Kudos to you. And thanks for being here.
You bet.
I wish you all the luck, and let's stay in touch.
Sounds great.
Oh, hey, before you go, where can people find you?
Facebook and Instagram at Virtue Active would be most where our social media is going to be.
Okay.
Or virtueactive.com.
Perfect. Okay. And what if people wanted to work for you?
They could send us a message. We're not hiring right now, but always interested to see what's out there.
Actually, one last question. How do you handle those national jobs? If like with, a project that's outside of like your wheelhouse.
There's always a learning curve with one of those new builders of what's standard in their area.
Okay. So you
what
work
they're used to seeing and what their jurisdiction wants to see. So there's some give and take in the front end.
Gotcha. Okay. So someday you might need somebody who's really good at a coastal design or something, maybe. All right. Well, hopefully people will find you and follow along with your journey and keep doing all the great work that you're doing.
Sounds great. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brian. We'll talk to you later.
Take care.
Thanks for hanging out with me on Not a Licensed Architect. If you're ready to stop second guessing yourself and start owning your place in this industry, make sure to follow the show and share it with another designer who needs to hear it too. And if you want more real strategies and floor plan tips you can actually use, head on over to dostudios.co for more courses and resources to supercharge your residential design career. Remember, you don't need a license to design a home or a life you're proud of. Thanks for hanging out. We'll catch you next time.